Hi everyone, this is Vladimir Akopian against Igor Khenkin, who are both strong grandmasters. It was played in Tilburg in 1994, and it's an interesting game because White chose an unusual system against the Sicilian Defence. After e4, c5, knight f3, e6, he played b3, preparing to fianchetto the queenside bishop, which is unusual, but it's also pretty dangerous, as you'll see in the game. Play continued a6, bishop b2, knight c6, c4, and f6. And I don't think f6 has ever been played again at top level after this game in this particular line. Normal now is d6, which still controls e5 and means the knight can develop to f6 as it would normally. So bishop e2, knight h6, and castling. And here White's threatening to play d4. And after c takes d4, knight takes d4, he'll have a Maroczy bind with pawns on c4 and e4. It'll be hard for black to liberate his game. So black takes action at the cost of tempo to stop that with e5. And this move also weakens d4 permanently, so it's a dubious kind of move. Then came knight to h4, bishop d6, and bishop to h5 check, which is a sharp continuation. White can get an advantage a different way with knight to f5, knight takes f5, e takes f5, castles knight c3, and the knight will soon head to d5 from where it'll be strong in the black position, and this d5 weakness will prove to be a big problem for black. But White chose not to go for that and instead played bishop to h5 check, and after g6 played bishop takes g6 check. Then came h takes g6 and knight takes g6. So White has two pawns and a strong and prolonged attack for a sacrificed bishop. It's pretty good compensation. Then came rook g8, queen h5, knight f7 and f4. And here black played e takes f4, which is better than, say, for example, knight e7, because then White has a strong reply. Knight takes e5. After bishop takes e5, f takes e5, rook h8, queen f3, queen c7, and queen f4. White would definitely stand better here. So e takes f4 is the right move. And after knight c3, black played bishop e5, which looks like the best defense, alright. Other moves are not as good. Say for example knight e7, then knight takes e7, bishop takes e7, knight d5, with rook takes f4 to follow, is strong for White. Another possibility is knight on c to e5, and after knight takes f4, and not knight d5, because after rook takes g6, bishop takes e5, rook g5, forking the bishop and the queen, black would win. So knight takes f4, rook h8, queen e2, b5, knight h5, bishop b7, knight takes f6 check, king f8, and knight on c to d5. White has the advantage with three pawns and still a good attack for a sacrificed bishop. So bishop e5 seems like the right defense, but here Akopian came up with a strong and sharp sacrifice. After bishop e5, rook takes f4, and here Khenkin accepted the rook, which really is the best move. Other possibilities, say for example rook takes g6, then queen takes g6, knight e7 is the best move. After bishop takes f4, then knight d5, knight e7, knight takes f6 check, king f8, knight to h7 check, king e8, queen g7 is winning for White. So knight g6 and then knight e7 and queen g7, bishop takes f4, knight d5, knight takes d5, e takes d5, queen e7, bishop takes f6, and bishop e5 would be the right move here. After queen f8, then rook to e1 check, knight e5, queen g6 check, queen f7, queen f5, bishop takes h2 check, king takes h2, d6, and queen g5. Again, White has three pawns and a strong attack for his bishop, so it's not the way to go. After bishop takes f6, bishop e5 is better than queen f8. But even then, after bishop e5, there's rook e1, and after queen f8, queen g6, d6, bishop takes e5, d takes e5, rook takes e5 check, king d7, and queen f6. White wins as black is completely paralyzed. His pieces are stopping each other, the king stopping the bishop, the castle's completely out of the game, the knight's pinned to the queen, and meanwhile white will be able to maintain his grip here and start pushing these pawns, and one of them will probably end up queening and it would win the game. So bishop takes f4 is correct to accept the sacrifice. And after knight to d5 came knight on c to e5, which is the best chance really. If instead he plays bishop g5, that loses immediately to h4, and here the best play continues. d6, h takes g5, bishop to g4, and queen h7, and the rook's trapped, which is really the least of black's worries. It's basically game over. Another possibility, instead of bishop g5, was bishop e5, but after bishop takes e5, knight on c takes e5, knight takes e5, f takes e5, rook f1, rook f8, rook takes f7, rook takes f7, queen to e5, or queen takes e5 check, queen e7 has to be played. If queen f8, or sorry, if king f8, then queen h8 mate, and if rook e7, then queen h8 check, king f7, queen takes d8, losing the queen and most probably the game. So queen e7 would have to be played, and then of course knight takes e7, rook takes e7, and even though there's 3 pieces against the queen here, after queen h8 check, king f7, queen h5 check, king f8, queen takes c5, black's queenside is completely tied down. This rook is still completely out of the game. He'll probably have to lose another pawn in order to free these pieces, and meanwhile all of these white pawns are going to start marching up the board, and black will be tied down to defending them and gradually be ground down and probably lose the game, almost definitely lose the game. So knight on c to e5 is the best chance of defense. And then white plays knight on d takes f4, and here d6 is pretty much forced, because the threat, if black does something stupid like a5, then bishop takes e5 is very strong for white. After f takes e5, queen h7, again the rook's trapped, and it's a winning advantage for white. So he plays d6, and after rook f1 came rook g7, which is a good move if it's followed up correctly, but an alternative here was rook takes g6, and after knight takes g6, bishop e6. It's simpler and results in an unclear position. White still hasn't got control of f6, which he needs if his attack is going to succeed on the king, and black has good defensive chances here, but he missed that. Maybe he was trying to hold on to the material and he just played rook g7. So bishop takes e5, f takes e5 has to be played really. If d takes e5, then knight d5, f5, and e takes f5, and white wins. So f takes e5, then knight d5, and here Khenkin crumbled under the pressure of the position and played king d7. He could have held the game with queen g5, and after queen takes g5, knight takes g5, rook f8 check, king d7, knight b6 check, king e6 is holding the game, although it doesn't look like it. After knight takes a8, rook takes g6, rook takes c8, knight to f3 check, king h1, knight takes d2. It's an unclear endgame. This pawn's falling, these are connected, but this pawn's going to come down here too, and it's kind of uncoordinated, the whole game. It's just really unclear, and it's hard to know who's going to win. You know, it's unclear. So it would hold the game. It's probably about equal chances, but he missed that opportunity and instead played king d7, probably trying to get his king to safety, but it's a desperate blunder, because after queen f5 check, the king has to go to e8. If it goes to c6, then knight on g to e7 picks up the queen, so it's the only move to stop the mate. and after queen takes e7, knight takes e7 check, and it's all over. So it has to be king e8, and then came knight f6 check, and again, in order to stop the mate, Khenkin would have had to take the knight with his queen, so he resigned here. And it was a brilliant game from Akopian. His sacrifices worked well and he won in style. So I hope you enjoyed that. Please leave any comments or thoughts. Thanks very much.